My name is Rex van Vuuren. I'm the Academic Dean at St. Augustine College, and my task was to deal with the vice of lust. So I thought I'd put together some thoughts toward understanding lust and some implications for leadership. To focus on an understanding of the experience of lust, its how and why, how it presents itself in our everyday lives, is a very different matter than to focus on ideas on lust or the history of these ideas. On both levels, the word lust is used correctly and incorrectly in a wide range of contexts, such as lust for life, lust for blood, lust for war, lust for money, which should more correctly be described as greed, lust for power, and lust for liberty, which is an expression from a book title by Samuel Cohn, writing about the politics of social revolt in Europe. Lust is related to many positive and negative meanings, which include desire, carnal lust, delight, zestfulness, and so forth. But I will confine myself to its dominant use, sexual or carnal lust. In South Africa's 11 official languages, there are many proverbs and expressions about lust, but in the majority of these languages, there is no single word for lust. This is an indication of the fact that there are different denotations and connotations in word and expression for lust in different languages, in different cultures, and in different historical periods. The language for lust and the language lust has had many transformations over the ages. We are all familiar with the complex expositions of the statement of Jesus in Matthew 5:28. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. We might be familiar with the proverb, beauty's sister is vanity and its daughter lust, which expresses a close familial relationship between the vices of vanity and lust. Or sometimes we encounter unfamiliar proverbs such as a Chinese proverb, leisure breeds lust. In the everyday life world, many pastors, counselors, and other professionals have to deal with the consequences of the madness of sexual lust. This often happens quietly and outside the purview of the public square. However, in the public square, popular magazines, newspapers keep the public informed about the lustful sexual indiscretions and intrigues of all types of celebrities. On the one hand, lust is implicated in a wide range of devastatingly damaged interpersonal relationships, which we almost read about daily in the newspapers. On the other hand, lust can be given a very humorous and comic treatment, and there are a myriad variations, for example, of the statement that behind every successful man is a woman, and behind the fall of a successful man is usually another woman. Scholars have always maintained a discourse on love, sexual desire, erotic love, and carnal lust. A theological discourse on the ethics of sex has consistently occupied the thinking of theological scholars. Yet it is also true that in the world of ideas, the discourse is about some theme or topic for some or other reason emerges, then submerges, and at some point in history re-emerges. The theme of virtues and vices has a long and illustrious history, and vices, let me repeat that sentence. The theme of virtues and vices has a long and illustrious history, which, for example, also emerges and submerges. In my view, the topic of virtues and vices was relatively submerged after the upheavals of Nietzsche's ethics in the 1880s. It took Alistair MacIntyre's After Virtue, a study in moral theology, published in 1981, for a new wave of serious interest in ethics, including virtues and vices, to emerge in Western culture. In the past 20 years, this theme has been prominent in many discourses, followed by much research in various disciplines. The landscape of lust is too large for any one person to command. Yet in every era and every generation, people devote time to write about virtues and vices. Now, I will confine myself to lust as an expression of sexual desire, even if Thomas Aquinas in the second half of the 13th century put himself the objection that lust was not confined to sexual or venereal desires of pleasures. My contribution is neither to defend traditional Christian morality nor to try to speak up for lust. I will attempt to underline some reasons why virtues and vices, and in particular lust, as a dimension of ethical thought and behavior, has re-emerged in our time. I will underline the fact that Western culture is going through a period of change on many levels. And some authors would even define this period of change as a crisis that includes, amongst others, the perennial tensions between the sacred and the profane, religious and secular, freedom and responsibility. These social forces create much confusion about how seriously we should take the problem of lust. And I will conclude with some general suggestions in support of leadership in dealing with lust on a personal level, as well as leadership in and for organizations. Over the course of 2002 and 2003, and on a more sophisticated popular level, Oxford University Press invited 7 prominent scholars to talk about the 7 deadly sins in lectures in the New York Public Library. The lectures became the basis of a series of books. The 3rd book on lust, published in 2004, was written by Simon Blackburn, a Cambridge professor of philosophy. And now, here in 2010, Regent University, through its School of Global Leadership and Entrepreneurship, has initiated a series of virtual conferences on virtues and vices as well. But let me return to Simon Blackburn. He begins his introduction. Lust gets a bad press. It's the fly in the ointment, the black sheep in the family, the ill-bred, trashy cousin of upstanding members like love and friendship. True, the sought-after back pages of newspapers provide evidence that lust is by far the most popular sin amongst readers. Lust has stolen the husbands from many wives of corporate and political leaders. Lust is besotting the leaders of an alarmingly number of present-day political leaders, sometimes crashing honorable careers. This is not a new trend. It was ever thus. However, recent writings on lust, such as that of Simon Blackburn, evade the difficulties and tragedies of lust and offer us too easily his remedy of celebrating the deadly sin as a form of human vitality. I am of the view that he, like many other authors, does not discern between sexual arousal, sexual desire, erotic love, and lust. Blackburn, in my view, is writing more about sexual desire than about lust. His sharp and witty presentation tends to present the problematic of lust as frivolous. A rich tradition of discourse on lust reflects 4 of the generally understood traits. That first of all, lust as desire as the expression of some form of real or imagined privation or lack, which is the root of temptation, ending in a loss which, secondly, sometimes overcomes us and for which we suffer, because thirdly, unrestrained and excessive thoughts and actions, and fourthly, the disproportionately excessive and unrestrained behavioral expressions or action in its instrumental regard of fellow human beings. The other as an instrument of my pleasure is experienced from both a first-person perspective, usually after the fact, and second-person perspective as repulsive. We describe repulsive actions as obscene or indecent.